107.5 WBLS, your number one source for R&B.
Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Just as important a question now as it was in 1971 when that was recorded. And Reverend Jesse Jackson just shared something that I didn't know. Can you share it with everyone?
Well, what happened was Dr. King became attracted to the song really before it was out.
Right.
Because when he took the position against the Vietnam War, and we were so, in some sense, so blindly patriotic or so afraid to protest, and civil rights leadership turned their back on him, many churches closed doors in Dr. King's face, and his audiences were getting smaller except for the big peace demonstrations, and he couldn't get over, and people didn't get it.
Right.
But what's going on changed the whole way people saw the war. Like, what's going on? I mean, the killing, the shooting, they're killing us because our hair's long. Is this about style? Is it about war? And so what's going on took on a real big meaning. It just shows the power of music.
Right.
And I think also after he was killed, for 15 years, John Conyers had a bill in Congress. And he was almost laughed at by the Black Caucus. You know you'll never get a King holiday. I mean, you can face reality. Right. And John and a few of us would go out by the Lincoln Memorial every January 15th. Be very cold as it is indeed this winter, and just a handful of people, and making it should be a King holiday.
Right.
And it's John Conyers' bill. And Stevie Wonder did the song "Happy Birthday, Martin Luther King,"
right,
and it took off and became a cultural phenomenon.
Sure did.
So it was John Conyers' bill and Stevie's song that made it, in fact, so powerful, so cultural. You couldn't say no to it. So again, the role of Motown. Yes.
Now, you were an intricate part of the march in Selma. And did you see the movie?
I've not seen the movie yet. Been moving too fast. I heard a lot of raving reviews about it and controversy, but just excited about it. What are you hoping that those of us who were not there will walk away with? One, it will revive our consciousness of the significance of voting. When Emmett Till was killed and Medgar Evers was killed, the killers walked the streets and they were known like for 40 years. And the jurors, a couple of jurors said after Emmett Till was killed, they knew who killed Emmett Till, but they could not stand to see a white man go to jail for killing a nigger. It was all white jury. The jury was stacked. Right. And the same thing happened to the guy who killed Medgar Evers, walked the streets for another 40 years. The right to vote gave us the power to access juries and change the whole culture of the courtroom. I said to a group of our youth, and after Trayvon Martin had been killed in Sanford, Florida, look, guys, we need to now register and vote and turn our protests into real power. And once they remind me of the voting, I'm not into the voting stuff. I said, would you like to be on the jury when Zimmerman comes to the courtroom? I said, I'd like to be on the court on the jury, and I'd like to bust him. So only registered voters can serve on juries. They said, oh, the only registered voters can, juries matter if you're in the courtroom. Juries to help determine what people are found guilty or innocent, as the case may be. Right. That's why they work so hard to keep us off of juries. But again, if you have not registered to vote, you lock yourself off the jury. That's right. That's a dimension of the Voting Rights Act. We had in 1968, blacks could not vote, but guess what? White women couldn't serve on juries in the South. 18-year-olds who were serving in Vietnam could not vote. You could not vote on college campuses. You had to go off campus someplace, which made it more difficult, less attractive. You cannot vote bilingually. All of this comes out of Selma. And I think that those dimensions must be dealt with as we talk about Selma. When President Barack Obama won in 2008, one dimension of his winning was when we ran an 84 and 88 campaign led by the late Bill Lynch and guys like that, and led by Dave Dinkins, Reverend Sharpton. At that time, when I ran in 84, I got like 4 million votes. And on the 400 delegates, something like that, way down. And so we say it's not fair. If I don't get what they call majority, if I want to take all. So if I get 48.3 and you get 51, you take it all. So all my delegates are wiped out. So we challenge it into proportionality. So if I get 40% of the vote, I get that number of delegates. Right. And that didn't seem to be a big deal in 88, but by 2008, when President Barack Obama ran, Hillary she won California and Texas and Ohio and New Jersey. She would have won. Except she could only get her share of delegates. She could not win or take all. Right. And he won because from Selma, out of Selma comes the right to vote, which was the 1875 promise. It was held back 95 years by states' writers. Out of Selma came women's right to serve on juries in the South, 18-year-olds voting, college campus voting, bilingual voting, and proportionality. All this comes out of the seed of Selma. It's a huge deal.
First time I ever voted, it was for you.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
but that's why we cannot spend more than we make and vote less than we have and expect to get power. That's the opposite of power. You should spend less than you make and vote your full strength. That combination is a powerful combination.
Yes. Ann Tripp, our news director, is here with us, and she wanted to join in on the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that Selma thing and talking about the movie and what we know, what we don't know, just a couple of things. I remember when schools started cutting back on the kinds of courses they would teach. I remember the first thing that went was civics. The first course was, I was taught civics in school. They don't teach civics in school anymore.
Every high school student should come across the stage at graduation time with the diploma in one hand and the voter card in the other. The diploma symbolizing knowledge and wisdom, and the voter card symbolizing power and responsibility. 18-year-olds have the right to vote. All college tuition, student loan debts, greater than credit card debt. You have the power to do something about that. Don't just protest without your voting card, because that is your lever.
They don't understand. And Oprah Winfrey said that apparently she ran to a young black man, a very thoughtful young man, who's very, very sweet, very nice to her, and he thought that she was playing a character named Selma in the movie. He knew nothing about what Selma was about. He thought Selma was the name of a woman and that Oprah Winfrey was playing a character. And I think that should speak to what we're not learning in the schools, or more importantly, what our parents are not teaching their children.
Well, if parents are not voting, they certainly can't teach their children the power of voting. But voting matters. I mean, we've gone from the time that Congressman Adam Powell helped to organize the Congressional Black Caucus. We may have had 5 members: Congressman Nix in Philadelphia, Congressman Powell from New York, Congressman from Chicago, Dawson, and now it's 45 because of the power of the vote. And that vote determines a lot of legislation, and not just at the congressional level, state legislators, city councils, mayors, all that comes out of the right to vote. And we, after 246 years in slavery, obviously we didn't have personhood by law. We got the right to vote in 1875. But watch this, the 15th Amendment. We made a mistake. We left voting rights oversight in the hands of former slave masters. So they held it up from 1870 to 1965. We made the same mistake again, because now the former segregationists are in charge of voting. So what are they doing? Making it more difficult to vote again. In Texas, you can vote with a gun registration, but not the student ID. In Texas, they moved 600,000 off of the rolls, and the judges said it was too late to turn it around. In North Carolina, they began to move voting off of college campuses. Another place, they restrict the number of days because the states' writers, the Confederates, are in charge of implementing the Voting Rights Act. And just as they sought to undermine it in 1870, they're doing the same thing in 2015.